Hi, Mike Jacobi here, inviting you to join us again for Jazz Tonight as we kick off the 2015 season. This year, the Summer of Sinatra, dedicated to old Blue Eyes, celebrating his 100th birthday. Each week, we'll be bringing you a new artist that's appearing in town, look behind the scenes and find out what they've got going on in the recording studio and find out what else is going on live in their lives. Jazz Tonight, right here on KCAT.
Captain's Log, Day of Discovery. Today, our junior crew members declared their independence. While the young cadets explored uncharted territory, the Admiral and I discovered the Fountain of Youth. Later, we were treated to a royal banquet. And after a brief skirmish with pirates, we celebrated with cannon fire.
Disney Cruise Line. When it comes to pleasing everyone, the difference is Disney.
Good evening. Welcome to Jazz Tonight. I'm Michael Jacobi, executive producer of Jazz on the Plazz and host of Raising the Standards for KSCO Radio in Santa Cruz. Delighted to have you with us as we continue our summer salute to old Blue Eyes on the occasion of his 100th birth anniversary. This week, we're very excited, not just excited to have an old buddy, Tony Lindsay, here.
How you doing, sir?
Friend. It's good to see you.
Good to see you,
As
too.
Elvis would say, my boys, it has been a while.
Yes, it has.
So good to see you. And we're taking a break this week from the Sinatra theme and turning to another genius, the genius, in fact, the great Ray Charles.
The great Ray Charles.
We'll talk about that in just a minute. You and I have known each other since the old days. In the day.
It's been a long time.
It has been a while.
At least 30 years
it
now.
has. I was running K-Pen Radio in the old mill, and you were with the Danny Hall Quintet.
Yes.
A name that folks know around here locally. And playing Bourbon Street a lot.
Yes.
In the old mill.
Bourbon Street, Lord John's. Matter of fact, we played down here in Los Gatos too at a place called Seasons. I think it's called the
Seasons
California Cafe.
Cafe now. Yeah.
We played there on Tuesday nights, and the place would be jam-packed.
Oh, that was the late 70s, early 80s.
And we also played Mountain Charlie's.
Oh, absolutely. Mountain Charlie's, and I shouldn't tell this story, but those were the days. And
yeah.
Kids, this is a new world now, but it would say, how far is that from here? Well, a six-pack. That's how you measured your way, and we don't do that anymore. But that was many years ago.
Yeah.
Mason's was downstairs from Mountain Charlie's.
I don't even remember that.
That was a long time ago in Los Gatos.
Wow.
So tell me a little bit about your background, because as I say, you and I have known each other for years. But where'd you grow up?
I grew up in upstate New York, a little town called Kingston, right by Woodstock, and I went to, when I graduated high school, I went to Albany State University up in Albany, New York. And I stayed around in Albany area for about 8 years, and that cold was killing me.
8 years? You really
I couldn't take the cold anymore. It was too much.
How many times can you say, maybe next winter won't be so bad?
Oh, I that last winter that I spent there, it froze my brain and everything else, and I said, you know what? Nobody should be living in this kind of weather. So I had a friend that lived out here in San Jose, and I called him up and I told him to ask his mom and dad if it was okay if I come out and try to establish myself. And he called me back 2 minutes later and they said, bring it. And that was in 1980, so I've been here since then.
You know, it's interesting. People that like snow, particularly from back east, because I grew up in Chicago. But I didn't learn to drive. And if you never drove in snow, you like it, okay, because you're a kid and you play it. But once you've driven in snow, you don't want anything to do with it again.
Well, see, we had no choice.
Yeah.
Because I was, being a musician, if we had gigs during the winter, the clubs were still open. Yeah. So we had to drive in that stuff. And it was actually a good experience because I can drive in anything.
You learn to turn into the skid, don't you, right away?
But I tell people now, I don't want to see snow unless it's on a postcard or TV.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the other way that you don't want snow is if not only if you've driven it or if you've ever paid a heating bill.
Woo.
That will tell you how much.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Tell me about growing up. Your folks into music?
All in the church. My mom and I got ton of nephews and nieces that are great singers and musicians, and everybody, I went to church occasionally. Don't you tell anybody this.
That's it.
And
I'm going to guess it wasn't Episcopalian.
No, Baptist church.
Go figure.
And the church was right in back of our house.
What? Oh, Lord, that's a little tough to get out of.
But see, with me, I was I called myself trying to be kind of slick, you know.
Yeah.
So when it came time to go up to put money in the plate, I would keep
you're
walking
out
and
there.
go out and walk back to my house so I can watch football on Sunday. So my mom, she got hip to that. So what she started making me do was sit up in the choir stand with her, so I couldn't leave. And man, that used to hurt.
So your mom sang?
Yes.
Choir?
Yeah, she sang, and God bless her soul, she's passed on now. But yeah, mom sang. My dad sang a little bit too.
Okay.
But he was, my dad was more of a, one of the kind of supporters. He worked in the hotels. Because I started doing this when I was 7 years old, singing. Yeah. We had a singing group. The name of the group was called Four of a Kind. We're an a cappella singing group. I was 7. I was the youngest one in the group. And my dad used to work in the hotels in upstate New York. So every time they had some kind of banquet or something there, he would say, hey, you know, my son's got this little group. Can they come in and sing? And we'd come in, and the place would be packed. We'd have on our black pants with white shirts and bow ties and cummerbunds, and people were throwing money out on it. We used to make a ton of money. Then we started doing talent shows, and we were kicking everybody's butt all over the place. You know, so that was my training and experience as a kid.
Shades of the Will Maston Trio. With, Sammy was doing that when he was 5.
Wow.
Yeah, that's amazing. How did you get? Did you play an instrument as a kid?
Mostly drums.
Okay.
You know, now I play a tiny bit of keyboards because of I write a lot of stuff. So, you know, in writing, and I try to instead of doing like a lot of the young kids do now with sampling things, you know, if I hear something, I can sit down at the piano and figure out the chords and stuff. And
talk about growing up. Some of your influences. I got to believe Sam Cooke was probably important.
Yeah. Lou Rawls,
Teddy Pendergrass,
Luther Vandross, Donny Hathaway was on top of my list. Yeah. And then you get you know, Joe Williams and people like that. I used to love Sarah Vaughan and Ella Fitzgerald and
you were weaned on jazz.
Yeah, I love it. I still do it now.
Yeah, that's
you know,
Motown in between.
You know, when we're off the road from the Santana stuff, I work with, you know, besides having my own thing that I do, and also the Spang-a-Lang thing and the Ray Charles project. Yeah. I do a lot of straight ahead jazz gigs with a lot of guys in San Francisco and all. I love doing that stuff.
You referenced Santana. You have been. Are you defined as a lead singer?
Yes.
For Santana, which you've been with him for
25 years.
25 years. So it's your voice on "Oh My Como Va" and
now. But you know, back then it was the original guys with Greg Rowley and all of those guys. It's Black Magic Woman and Oya Kimova, you know, Greg Rowley and who else was in that band? And David, I can't think of his last name. He's passed on.
Carlos, a good guy, good to work with?
Yeah. You know, I mean, he's a human being.
He's
just
kind
like
of a quiet. Is
everybody else has.
Quiet guy.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, he definitely observes a lot.
Yeah. I like Chick Corea. Hung with once. Is very much an observer.
Yeah. And it's amazing being around those guys. I mean, you know, in the 25 years that I've been with the Santana Band, I've had the opportunity and pleasure of being around. I mean, just, you know, Quincy Jones and John McLaughlin and Chick Corea, Herbie Hancock, all these guys. Yeah. And you know, it's really a blessing being around.
You bring up Herbie. That's interesting because Herbie is one of the geniuses of our business, but you never know what you're going to get because he's always moving. It's a little bit like Miles in the Beatles days.
Wayne Shorter is another one.
Oh, yeah. You never know.
Yeah.
Branford's a buddy of mine, Marcellus, who often says, "How come you don't play me on Raising the Standards?" I said, "Why don't you record a standard?" He goes, "That's a good point." But Carlos, while he's done different stuff in the band, has done different stuff, you're still pretty true to your core.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Which is smart, one thing, but also, I would imagine, a statement as well.
It's quite an experience being in that band. You know, he listens to a lot, pretty much all African music.
Yeah.
And that's what the base of the Santana stuff, that's where it comes from. You know, a lot of people, and they get mad when he doesn't connect the Latin thing with it.
Yeah.
But it's the African, it's the African-based music, and you know, with the heavy drums and It's quite an experience being on stage with that band, man. There's a lot of power coming from behind.
Yeah. Okay, so do they not tour, needless to say, in the last 25 years? What's the most you toured with them?
Oh my God, we tour all the time.
So you still do 7 months a year?
We just came back from Europe, from doing 5.5 weeks in Europe. And next Wednesday we leave for 2 weeks to do East Coast stuff, and we got residency in Las Vegas at Mandalay Bay.
Now what does that mean?
That we have they have a 2-year contracts, and we have to perform over a certain amount of months. We do 2 weeks at a time. So we started January, we did a couple weeks, we did some in I think April or whatever, but we're going back after we do our 2 weeks coming up next week. When in September, from the middle of September to the end of September, we got 2 weeks we're going to be in Las Vegas, and we got 2 weeks in October, and then 2 weeks right before Thanksgiving is when we'll stop until next year.
Let me think. A Wednesday night in Los Gatos, 2 weeks in Las Vegas.
It's pretty tough though in Las Vegas.
Oh, I gotta believe it.
It's pretty tough because when you live in the Bay Area, and then you go to the desert for 2 weeks and you don't see any water. There's nothing green down there or anything. You know what I'm saying?
But do you play golf?
Never played. I played miniature golf.
Yeah, right. Do you gamble?
No.
Oh, see, so you don't.
What I do is when I'm down there,
whatever vices are back there.
No. Well, I work out. I work out all the time.
So you work out a lot.
And when I'm down there, there's a lot of shows that I got because I've gotten to develop a lot of friends down there that a lot of guys that play in the different shows. So I'll go see. There's a group down there called Santa Fe and the Fat City Horns. Yeah. That if they came to do this festival here at Jazz on the Plazz or San Jose Jazz Festival, they will rip this place up.
Really?
Oh, that band is incredible.
Very cool.
Yeah, Santa Fe and the Fat City Horns. And I go see another show called Human Nature, which is four white guys from Australia do all the Motown stuff.
Oh, really?
And they are. I've been to see that show at least 5 times.
You see Penn and Teller down there?
Never seen Penn and Teller yet.
I love Magic.
I want to go check that show out.
Yeah, that's a little twisted.
And the Cirque du Soleil shows, the Michael Jackson show,
got,
the one that's incredible.
Yeah. Those people give me the heebie-jeebies.
It's
they
pretty
twist in ways. That
it's incredible.
That's what fantasy in it. We are doing. It's called the Ray Charles Project. And by the time folks see the show, you will have done it. Do rave reviews, I might add. Tell me about the setup on stage.
We have.
You got my buddy, Chris Kane.
Chris Kane. I'm gonna tell you, Chris Kane. I love that guy so much.
Chris Kane is one of the great guitar players.
He is so talented. Now, well, not only guitar.
And you were telling me the other day on the air.
He plays keyboards and he sounds like Ray Charles. And of course when he sings, he's got that B.B. King and the Ray Charles thing in there. And he plays saxophone like crazy.
Well, he is such and I did an interview with him a couple years ago. I had him here on Blue Wednesday. And he shows up in overalls and he's got Miller Lite beer cans in his pockets. And we're taping over at the Toll House, and he walks in and he goes, "Mr. Jacobi, I just wanted to say I'm a big fan of yours." And I said, we're gonna get along just fine. Oh, what a nice guy.
Well, the thing that is amazing about him too, he has this one little amplifier. Yeah. He plugs it. There's no fancy pedals or anything like that. And that guy plays like you won't believe.
And wasn't he like born on Beale Street or something?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Something remarkable. It's just great.
But when Ray Charles passed, I get a phone call. I answered my cell, and it's Chris. Tony, man, Ray Charles died. So I'm saying, yeah, I heard, man, and I'm continuing to talk. And then I realized, because I'm hearing this piano playing in the background, I realized that I'm talking to myself because he put the phone down and he's just playing.
Oh.
He's playing for about 25 minutes, and I'm sitting there and I'm listening and listening. And then all of a sudden it stopped. He picked his phone up and said, "That's all I had to say." And he hung up the phone.
I interrupted. So who else is on stage with you tonight?
We have Dave Matthews, plays keys. Sure. Dave Matthews is also the keyboard player in the Santana band now. And Glenn Walters is the other singer. Okay. And we have Dezon Claiborne on drums. And Dwayne Pate playing bass.
You ever see Ray?
I saw Ray Charles 2 times, a long time ago, though.
Me too.
Yeah. He was, he's a special character.
I told this story, I'll tell it at the show. I told it on the show the other day. It's a marvelous story about Ray Charles when he was in Florida. And he was a young man. He went to a school for the blind, which was segregated. You want to think about that for a minute. So I'm black. And so he gets done with the school, and he goes to a diner with a buddy of his, and he says, put a map of the United States in front of me. So he puts it down like a placemat, and he says, take my right index finger and put it where we are now. So he puts it in Florida. He says, now take my left index finger and put it as far away as possible without leaving the continental United States. Put it on Seattle. That's where he went. That's where he met Quincy.
Isn't that a trip?
And the whole story.
The rest is history.
Something? Isn't that something?
Wow.
Rachel, even though it's a Sinatra summer, they share a lot of things.
Yes, they do.
They shook up the industry. It's a great, both of them crossover artists.
Yeah. Them, Nat King Cole.
Yeah.
All of them. I heard that story that Frank used to make his whole band, when they finished their show, he used to make his whole band go with him over to see Nat King Cole.
Oh, really?
All the time.
Yeah.
I mean, those guys, they all had that thing. Sammy Davis Jr.
Yeah.
and Dean Martin. I mean, all those guys.
Well, Sinatra was obviously a huge Billie Holiday fan.
Yeah.
And Mabel Mercer used to spend a lot of time watching them. So, and I think that's the similarity between Frank and Ray is the connection.
Yeah.
With the music. Connecting with the music is one thing. Johnny Mathis could connect to the music, but not necessarily connect to the audience. Whereas those guys
did both.
One-on-one.
Whatever, I don't care who wrote the song. When Ray Charles or Frank Sinatra or Nat King Cole, when they did the song, it was their song.
Now, are you going to do this? You can do a tune that they both did. For instance, "Come Rain or Come Shine."
I could do that.
If you could do that, we'll talk later. We'll talk after the interview, but that would be wonderful.
Okay, you got it.
Keep my theme up. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Santana will sell tickets on their own. Let's talk a little bit about Spangaland. Folks can catch you quite a bit later.
Oh, yeah, man. We're having fun. Matter of fact, this Friday night, I don't know when this is aired.
This will have already aired, but what do you got coming up next month or so around?
Well, in the next month or so, I'll be actually on the road with the Santana stuff.
Okay. But when you come back, you play number one Broadway.
Play at number one Broadway.
Our buddy Joel Wyrick, by the time you get back, his series will be over.
That'll be over.
And which he can never get down. He plays with golf with me, but he can't get down because.
Well, we also play at the Poorhouse Bistro.
Absolutely. Our
down in San Jose.
Yeah.
And I do Biscuits and Blues in San Francisco.
That's a great little club.
Yes, it is.
And you go downstairs, and it reminds you a little bit of the Jazz Standard in New York.
Yeah.
It's that kind of. It looks like the. Which is the place the Beatles played? They were the Quarrymen, but they played downstairs.
Well, they had one in I remember in the Boston area. Remember Paul's Mall and the what was it? It's called Paul's Mall and something else. It was a jazz club, and you had to go downstairs to get into it.
A couple of senior citizen jazz guys trying to remember Clay.
Oh yeah, man.
I don't have a clue. Somebody shout out if they've got this answer. The Cavern. Thank you. It's where the Beatles played. In Liverpool, that was the downstairs brick wall. Thank you. What are the odds of one of our two audience members having that answer? We're getting a little tight on time. So you're playing those gigs. You got anything coming up recording wise?
I actually working on my own project right now. Okay. And I'm so glad that the way it used to be, you have to do a whole CD or an album, what we call them. Now, these days, you don't have to do it like that anymore since everybody's downloading things.
Everything's old is new again. Yes. We go back to singles.
So what I do now is I do 2 songs at a time. That way I have flip sides.
Yeah.
And then I use the internet because I have a ton of people that follow me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and all that. And that's the audience I sell them to. And it's worldwide.
Well, and I'll tell you what, with the competition, there's no B side. There are 2 A sides now.
That's true.
And you got to hit it. A delight to see you, my friend.
Hey, you too, man.
It's been too long. Welcome back to Los Gatos.
We're going to do it again.
Knock 'em dead.
Yes.
That's Jazz on the Plazz. Next week, Bria Schoenberg, that trumpet playing vocalist who has been described, you'll love this, as a cross between Louis Armstrong and Doris Day. She opened at Newport Jazz Festival. It's going to be a fun week. And coming up the week after that, and we'll talk more about it, but an old friend of mine, Carol Coates, who's written a number of things for Sinatra, was at the Capitol recording sessions. It'll be a fascinating interview with him. Thanks to good folks at Disney Cruises, the folks at Direct Travel, and the good folks here at KCAT. Until next time, I'm Jacobi. I'll see you soon.
In other words, please be true.